Welcome, everyone. I'm calling the meeting to order at 7:03 p.m. And thank you all for coming. I know you're all very busy getting ready for Thanksgiving. I'm going to call the roll, and then we'll see if Julie Scott, do you have something you would like to address or say to this group?
Yep, when you're ready for public participation, sure.
Okay.
Take your time.
Okay. Roll call. Jeremy Little.
Here.
Jill DeMont.
Here.
Jessica Suchik.
Here.
Teresa Oravena Gonzalez.
Here.
Okay. Our newest member, Michaela Lyons, who's our student representative.
Hi, here.
Okay. We also have at present Chief Steve Scory, our school committee liaison, Pete Davis, and we have a couple of guest speakers, Jonathan Chines and Mike McLean from the town council. Julie, we'll start with you briefly. It's just a matter of 2 or 3 minutes. You have the floor.
Thanks so much. I'd like to thank the two town councilors for attending tonight's meeting. I met with them last week when they met with the Veterans Advisory Board, and I thought it was a very productive meeting. To last week's Veterans meeting, I made a couple of suggestions, and it seemed like the Veterans Advisory Board agreed with my addition and my revision. I added to the proposal the thought of maybe adding the AmeriCal Division flag to the front of the Civic Center. And I know that the two town councilors here will talk to you about that tonight. I also promoted that the state flag fly in front of the town hall, because that's our highest administrative building in the town. And I was hoping that the pride flag would be also flown the highest seat of government in front of the town hall. I think that would be a respectful tribute to all that the pride flag represents and all that are represented by that flag. I would also, I wanted to mention, we have our nation's 250th birthday coming up in 2026. And I was hoping that the town of Wakefield could start looking through various modes of different ways to look into celebrating that. It certainly fits in with the theme of the Human Rights Commission and a whole bunch of other boards and committees in Wakefield. I was thinking the town council, the arts council, library trustees, the senior center, the youth council, council on aging, the Albion Cultural Exchange, even the Northeast School Committee, the parade committee, the recreation committee, the school councils, and the cultural exchange. I think I may have already said that. In the town library, I know, having lived in Wakefield in 1976, it was a really big deal throughout the whole school system and throughout the whole town. And it wasn't just a 1 year or a 1 month celebration. It started a year or two before, and it talked about the different aspects of our the birth of our nation. And certainly human rights really goes with the theme of the birth of our nation. So I just wanted to put that feeler out there, because there are so many different people here tonight at this meeting to hear that idea. So thank you for all that you guys do. Look forward to hearing about hearing your discussion tonight. And again, thanks for being here and doing what you do.
Julie, can I just ask you, are you representing yourself individually or a particular group?
I'm just here as an individual.
Okay, thank you very much for your participation.
Thank you.
We're going to start our meeting with our special guests from the town council. I've sent out the flag policy to all of you in advance, and you can see their names, Jonathan and Mike, and the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much. And I don't know about very special guests, but we'll take it. That's better than some of the introductions we get sometimes. But appreciate you guys making the time for us this evening, given I know you have a lot of other things on your agenda and it's Thanksgiving week. I also want to start just by saying thank you for the work that you guys do. I have been so impressed over the years with the events that the Human Rights Commission puts together, the dialogue that you generate in town. And I know that that's not that doesn't come together without a lot of work and a lot of planning and a lot of activity on your part. So I really appreciate you kind of stepping up and giving your time for this, because it is really important. And I think the results of what you do and the impact that you have means a lot to the community. So thank you for that. I'm going to, Sherry, if it's okay, I'm just going to share my screen so we have the policy in front of us. If I can. If I can't, that's okay too. So while we're figuring that out, let me just sort of set some context. So this really came about over the last couple of months, just as the result of some kind of individual conversations that a few of us have had on the council, around the flag policy. Because while I think we're not naive enough to think that we're going to come up with a policy that's going to make everyone in town happy, what we wanted to do, I think, was figure out if there was a way to really take some of the heat and take some of the noise out of developing the flag policy, and really kind of focus it, in those areas where there seemed to be broad agreement. And so the policy that we shared, that I can share, thank you very much, Sherry, that I'll bring up on the screen, really represents, I would say, the compilation of some efforts to try to come up with something that may have some broader support within the community. I will say, this is not the final product, and in fact, as I walk through it, there are some pieces of feedback that we got last week from the Veterans Advisory Board with regard to service flags and the AmeriCorps flag that point us in a little bit of direction. I would say that this policy, as it's drafted right now, is not even necessarily kind of the perfect policy that either Councillor McLean or I would necessarily support, but we're putting this version in front of you because it does represent a compilation of a number of ideas that we've gotten, and we really want to get your reaction. Tell us what you like, tell us what you dislike, tell us if there are things you want to add. That's what we're here for. This is not, not to show you a final product, but to solicit your help in getting to something that might be a final product. So can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Great, thank you. And please interrupt, by the way, as I go through this. I actually, while I have this up, I can't see anyone's faces. So if there are any questions, please chime in. So we tried to do a few things in this policy, and the first was we didn't want to mess with some of the things that already worked. So as you look at the first, really sort of 2/3 of the policy, it is identical to what exists today. So that includes section 1 here, which is the application that sets forth that this applies to basically the flagpoles on town property, with the exception of the school department, since those are controlled by the school committee. And the library, I'm sorry, it does include the school department, excuse me, with the exception of the library, which is governed by the Board of Library Trustees and the Wakefield Municipal Gas and Light Department. But everything else theoretically is within the purview of this policy. The second section expresses the fact that any flags that are flown are an expression of the sentiment of the town council, or the sentiment of the town as approved by the town council as the town's governing body. This is a really important provision that we added and clarified after the Supreme Court's Shurtleff decision, so that we can assure that whatever we do is in compliance with that decision, and that we're not forced to fly a flag that doesn't represent our values as a community. The third and fourth sections relate to the American flag and the POW MIA flag. Much of this is actually taken directly from the US Code as it relates to how the flag should be flown, as well as Massachusetts general laws with regard to the POW MIA flag. So this doesn't change. One thing that was clarified last year is that we do have a slight exception to the policy where at the Galvin Middle School, we do fly the 4-star general flag in honor of General Galvin. So then this fifth section is really where we've had a number of discussions. So I think in this area, there are really kind of three main things that we wanted to set forth in policy. So one, in section A, we did want to, kind of put the town on record as trying to put together an appropriate celebration for Flag Day on June 14th. There are some commemorations that the Boy Scouts do, and in the past, the town and the American Legion kind of officially participated in those, but it's been quite some time since that's happened. And so we really want to bring something back, and we leave the policy fairly general in terms of what that could be, but we want to bring something back to recognize Flag Day. The second thing is that we codify specifically when the Pride flag and the Juneteenth flag would be flown, and that's in sections B and D. We've set dates for those, just to kind of reflect when those would fly. And we've also set this idea that that would be codified in our policy. So we wouldn't vote every year that, we're going to fly the Pride flag again. It would just be set in policy. One thing I want to note, with regard to Ms. Scott's comments, is that we do in policy have the flags flying at the second flagpole at the AmeriCall Civic Center. The reason that we don't cover Town Hall is because right now we only have one flagpole. I think in the future we want to look at potentially some additional flagpoles there, but because we're not there yet, what we really wanted to focus on was being able to fly these flags at a space that we already have. And then finally, the third thing in this area, we had an idea, and actually I credit Councillor Vincent for this, of on the birthdays of each of the armed services, flying the service flag as a way of commemorating the founding of the Army and the Navy and so forth. A little bit to I think my surprise, and I suspect to Councillor McLean's surprise as well, the Veterans Advisory Board really wasn't supportive of that. So I expect that that's something that we probably will take out in the final version. But as Julie mentioned, we did get some suggestions around flying the AmeriCall division flag. So that's something that, we may look at flying that on the days when other flags are not flying, but, to be determined. And again, we'd love to get your feedback on that. So that's section 5. And then finally in section 6, what the policy does is it states that we won't entertain any other flag requests. So the idea is that the policy would lay out exactly what flies. Now, this is a town council policy, which means any future town council can change that or revise that or do whatever they want. But the sense would be that at least for us as a council, we'd kind of get out of that sort of, month to month decision making on individual requests that might be coming our way. So that's where we are. I'm going to pause there, and Councillor McLean would invite you to add your thoughts and context as well before we open it up for feedback.
Yeah, I would first say, similar to what you've said, Jonathan, that this is a work in progress. So you're kind of looking at our current flag policy with some potential changes. If you've ever watched one of our meetings, you would know that things can happen even on the floor. Anybody can make a motion at any time. So we kind of never know what the final thing is going to be until the meeting ends and a vote is taken. So just so you know, this isn't a final product. It's kind of some modifications that we were toying with. And as Jonathan said, I think some of all the service flag, entries there that you're looking at are probably just going to come out. I'm also curious, because I don't remember hearing you mention this, Jonathan, but I am curious as to folks' opinions too, because I know it would be very important, to the Veterans Advisory Board. So just the opinions as to whether, people on this call would consider or support or consider supporting flying only the U.S. flag on Flag Day, because obviously we had to deal with that last year. I'm seeking opinions because I want to see where we are at the moment. trying to get out front, not on that one specific issue, but to get out front on a number of these instead of waiting until next June. If it's possible that we can work something out, as Jonathan said, it's never going to be a perfect flag policy. We've been doing this just long enough to know that is the case. No one's ever going to be 100% happy with anything. One of my very important additions here was the very simple one that said, I believe it's currently listed here as number 6. These are the flags we're flying. So, when I went to the, I'm liaison to the library, and when I went over to their meeting on flag policy and they opted for US only, Tom Mullen, our town council, had indicated, there's a whole variety of things you can do, including letting 10,000 flowers bloom. And one of the things we found, I think, is we found some of those flowers in terms of getting requests for various flags almost on a biweekly basis. I'd prefer not to have to do that in the future. Maybe that's selfish on my part, but I think it's also a little bit, better way of town government that we don't, get, I think we've been careful and we have a good policy. And when I have people say to me, oh, you're going to get sued and so forth, I say, I've been a lawyer for 40 years. I'm really not worried about it.
I would like to ask about that, actually, since
Yeah.
you right on the heels of that question.
Go for it.
There has been some more, as I understand, some more litigation in pushback from maybe some of the farther right groups. Did this happen in Boston recently? Like, I feel like it's not out of the blue. I feel like there are, I would like to push for, say, I mean, I am gay. I would like to push for a pride flag at XYZ times, but I don't want to open us up to, I don't have the law expertise to know what that if that opens us up to then hearing from other flags.
Well,
So
I don't,
we were really careful about
yeah, go ahead, Jonathan.
about drafting the original policy in response to the Supreme Court's decision in the City of Boston versus Shirtlift. So that was Boston didn't actually have a flag policy, and
Okay.
what happened was they took some resident requests to fly flags and denied others without having any sort of rational basis for doing that. And the Shirtlift decision, and Mike, you're the lawyer, so please correct whatever I say that's going to be probably a little bit wrong, but my understanding of the Shirtlift decision is the Supreme Court's guidance is basically that if you have a process where anyone can fly a flag, you can't really deny any of those requests.
Mhm.
But if the decision to fly the flag is solely a decision on the part of the governing body of the city, state, or town, and it's a sentiment of that body, then there is no obligation to fly anyone else's flags. I mean, basically, the Supreme Court said the remedy is if you don't like the decisions we make on flags, you vote for someone else. So that second paragraph that I mentioned, paragraph 2, that talks about the sentiment of the town council, that is, from a legal perspective, the really important part of the policy that says that whatever we decide to do, we're doing that as a town council, as the duly elected representatives of Wakefield's town government. And again, if someone doesn't like it, we have elections every year.
Yeah, and I'm not sure exactly what case, or you might be referring to, Jessica, but I know that.
I'm assuming I think it's that.
Okay, yeah, but I mean, every town is dealing with this right now.
Mhm.
And, there was just a bit of a stir, in North Andover relative to flying, nation flags. I think the fact that we start with a pretty solid policy is good. And I think we're all very cognizant, of, there may be a momentary, emotional, desire to fly the Ukrainian flag or to fly a flag of another nation. But I tend to think that our 7 folks would veer away from that because, it's more of that slippery slope. Once how many world religions are there? How many national flags are there? Once you get into that, then you get yourself into a bit more of a difficult situation. And that's, you know, I don't want to cut off flags. For example, you know, if the AmeriCal flag turns out to be a good idea, I'd like to get it into our policy, you know, before I go down to number 6 and say, okay, that's the end of it. You know, we're not going to consider every 2 weeks. We're not going to consider, you know, this flag or that flag.
Can I ask,
Please.
can you share how does the flagpoles on school grounds, they follow the same policy, is that right?
Correct. So we only have on each school property, I believe we only have one flagpole. And so under this policy, that flagpole will fly the U.S. flag with the POW MIA flag right underneath that. The one exception is we did make that exception for the Galvin because of the 4-star flag in honor of General Galvin. But it does apply to school properties as well, and I apologize, I misstated that earlier. It doesn't apply to the library, so that's the library trustees board or the gas and light department.
I asked because I know many school districts fly a pride flag year round, which is a pretty powerful statement for a lot of our students who you know, are facing a lot right now in particular, but also at that age. And I think it's a very powerful symbol. So I was, that's what I was thinking about.
I have a question about why was the Veterans Board not in favor of flying the different military units' flags?
You know, I don't want to speak for them, but I think it seemed like the sentiment was it just wasn't meaningful to them. That the you know, kind of the birthdays of the service divisions was not, you know, it's something that, you know, one of the members said, you know, I'm an Army veteran, you know, I, you know, kind of like acknowledge when it's the Army's birth date, but you know, the Marine birth date doesn't have much bearing for me. The other thing is that technically when you fly the service flags, there are actually a number of other like banners and streamers that go with that. And that it becomes really kind of quite involved. And so Chairman Cancieri, you know, said, look, it's well intended, but it really, to do it right, it's really more involved than I think you guys realize.
And also it seems that that's asking a lot of the town service department to constantly take flags up and down, especially during the month of June.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, it's if we were changing out the flag every day, you know, all year, that would be one thing. But that's valid. I think for the Veterans Advisory Board, the AmeriCal Division flag was more meaningful just because it also tied to the history of the building.
Well, does anyone else have any other questions for Mike and Jonathan at this time?
Can I just
And-
add, I know it's not public
Julie.
comment, but if it's possible, if I could add one thing to what Jonathan said, I'd like to.
I'm sorry, but that isn't
Okay.
procedure that we allow.
Can I ask a question?
Jessica can, yes. of
Okay,
course.
great. I about the Flag Day, and my only concern about taking, and this is only because it happens to be Pride Month, my only concern about taking the flag down on Flag Day is that to some extent it could suggest, or it feels like it could suggest, that celebrating the American flag and celebrating Pride simultaneously, that those are incompatible. And that's not a message that I don't think is intentional. I wondered why, through this, I mean, I'm newer to Wakefield, so I've learned more about the AmeriCal Center and sort of the significance of the buildings. And I understand that the town building only has one flag, But I think with all of that up and down, when you take the pride flag down for Flag Day, it just it may telegraph the wrong message.
We do take it down for Juneteenth.
Well, I don't mean to say it's different, but again, I would.
Oh, Jessica, we've lost your sound.
Oh, sorry. Can you have me back?
No, we've still don't.
You're there, but very faint.
Yeah.
How about this? Sorry, I had a bunch of different. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, much better.
I've been switching different microphones today. For Juneteenth, I suppose Juneteenth should also fly at the same time as like it's just timing. Like I understand why Juneteenth goes up, and I understand there can't be an infinite amount of flag poles. So I'm not trying to be, too contentious, but I think there is just something particularly about Flag Day because it's to celebrate the flag, and yet the Flag Day is also its significance is sort of about the attitudes of the country and what the flag represents. And so it just my gut reaction was a little bit mixed.
And I would say this is part of the reason we wanted to have this conversation, and part of the reason why Mike posed the question. I will tell you personally, I am struggling with that question a lot, and I definitely see what you're saying and agree with you. I don't think that's the intention of the request that we got last year around Flag Day, but but I don't want that to be the effect either, right?
Well, right. And I see, of course, the how a town acts and the decisions that are made should go beyond just the month of June anyway. So, and a flag is not just the only thing that you can do to be to show your support and to different groups and I think that Jill's mentioning that the flag is up all the time at the schools. That is pretty powerful. So I don't think it's, it's not like it's the worst thing in the world, but it is one of those things that if there's a way around it even in the future to fly the pride flag at the, flags are just flags, but that is the one thing that I think it's already been raised in your mind, and it was raised in my mind when I saw the policy.
Jess,
I'd like to
I'll clarify.
recognize Michaela because her hand has been up and she's been patiently waiting. And we do have to wrap this up till we can go on to the rest of our business. So Michaela, please, you have the floor.
Yeah, well, first of all, hi everyone. It's great to be here. I'm so excited to join the commission. My only criticism about this is what pride flag are you talking about? Like, are you talking about the original one or the more updated one, which is the progress flag? Because the progress flag was made to include like diverse groups inside of the LGBTQ community. Like it added the transgender colors, it added the brown and black stripes to represent people of color. So I was just like wondering if like you're going to use the original one or if you're going to use the more updated one.
We have been using the progress flag. We got an updated flag.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I think that would be the intent. The policy is written vague from that perspective, where we just say a flag appropriately commemorating. And I think the idea was that that would be sort of general enough to use the progress flag, though if there was an evolution of the progress flag in a future year that we wanted to move to, we wouldn't have to change the policy to do that. But we have, I was going to say, Sherry, you may remember better than I, but I feel like we've done the progress flag at least for the last 3 or 4 years. I can't remember if it was the original one that we flew when we first did when we first celebrated Pride Month from a flag perspective, but it's been a couple of years.
It has been a couple of years, and Teresa and Jeremy, who've been around for a while, could probably also remember. I think it's been at least 3 years that we've had the progress flag.
I think so.
Because I remember we purchased a new one.
Yep.
And if the flag officially commemorating Pride Month changes again, we'll purchase yet another new one, the appropriate updated flag.
Can I just clarify too, with what Jess had said? The pride flag does not currently fly at our schools in Wakefield. That
Mhm.
is the case in many districts in Massachusetts. I would love to see it happen in Wakefield, but it does not currently, and I don't think it fits this policy.
Yes.
That was my point.
Okay.
Thanks for
Are there
clarifying
any
that.
other new points to be made or questions for Jonathan and Mike before we close out this discussion? Okay, thank you so very much for coming. You're welcome to stay and hang out with us for a while. Jonathan, would you turn off your share?
Oh, yes, sorry about that.
Yeah, I think
And
because I
will
sent
also
everyone a
say-
copy. There we go. Here's everyone's faces again.
Sorry about that. I
That's
will
okay.
also say if folks do have other questions or comments, please reach out to us by email or by phone. We definitely want to hear it. And if you come up with a brilliant thought or idea after this, know that we're available and happy to talk through this again. But thank you very much for giving us the time tonight. We really appreciate it.
And thank you. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're moving on. Jill, I guess I'm asking you to speak a lot tonight. There isn't really very much to report. Oh, Olivia, you're not in class. Hello, Olivia Dannenberg has not been. Now we have 7 people out of our 8, our voting members. This is the first time since June. I'm so excited. Okay.
My class
Olivia
got out
has
early
class
today.
on Tuesday nights, but she's been able to attend. Excellent. So financial, Jill, I think you could say we have money, right? We're in good
Yeah,
shape.
we haven't spent any since the last, that's reflected in the latest report. But it will change next month because of the speaker that we just did. But as of now, we haven't spent any.
We can use either our general funds for that, or we could ask the Mass Council to reimburse us from our grant. And I think that that's something we should consider. So you and I can actually, does anyone have any special feelings about that? Whether you think it should come from our general funds or use it for our grant? Because the grant was the way I wrote it, it allows us to use it for any program at all that talks about diversity and including people and educating people.
I will say the invoice was sent in last week, so it's possible that it's already paid.
Okay. Well, that's okay because we can still ask.
Things.
Well, they have to take the money out of the grant fund, which is not part of our regular funds. And then we can actually over debit the grant fund until we get paid back. Can you please tell us how much the speaker cost?
I think it was 200.
Very reasonable.
It might have been 250, but I think it was 200.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Very reasonable. We certainly have the funds in both accounts. Other operational things, I put everything physical back in the storage it's at 5 Common Street next door to Town Hall. So if anyone needs any of the materials that belong to the HRC, everything is stored there in one place. And it's very easy to get it out. You just send Steve Mayo a text or a quick email and you say, can I come over? And he makes sure that you can get access to it. Jess, would you have anything you want to add about the virtual files?
I have been adding them. I saw a couple. I saw you were setting up an email account, and Olivia, you mentioned an Outlook account that you'd be okay with using. I would encourage people to get an Outlook account through just separate from your personal account. But as soon as you have that, send it on to me and I can give you access. I've put in some templates that you can use. I've put in some old files that we have from other events. And as we add people and do more events, I can just begin to aggregate the past materials that we have in there to organize. But I've begun populating it with some from the speaker event. I populated it with some templates that seem to come up from that, and so it's plugging away. And once people have an Outlook account to access it, just let me know and I can give you access. It's a little bit clunky, but it has the stuff in there that you can use if you're putting an event together. It will also have some contact sheets in there and such things. You know, some of those basic materials, logos, and then I'm going to do I may do a shared spreadsheet for through Google Drive for the contacts, just because it updates so often. That might be more useful to us just to share internally. And that's pretty much it.
I have a couple of questions. First of all,
Sure.
are you putting things under categories, like different buckets? Like-
Yeah, there's
like
there's a file folder system in there, and so it's, you know, at the top level, it's I've tried to divide it into like logos, event materials, minutes, agendas, just the materials that we have that I've been sent, and then you know, like onboarding materials like would be under an onboarding folder. So it's, and then under events, it's broken out into the different events that we've held in the past. It will be more populated as I kind of get more, as we do more events, I'll have more information on what past materials we might have. If anybody has a big folder of past materials on their computer and they want to offload it on me, also feel free to do that.
Okay. And I know that with Google Documents, you can give people sharing privileges to just look at things and sharing privileges to edit. Are we going to exclusively get sharing privileges to look at everything and maybe even extract things that we need to use, but not necessarily everybody has privileges to edit?
This would be a checkout and check-in situation, and so I can manage it so that you don't you can't edit it, but this also, it's a bit more stringent than Google Drive anyway, in that it doesn't let me throw anything out. It's managed by the town, and so everything has to go into even old things just go into a recycling folder that I've called recycling. So I have fewer worries about losing things forever than I would through Google Drive. But
I suggest you call it the archive folder.
yeah, yes, it's rapidly becoming that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So you
Michaela?
can move things out that are outdated, so you can move new things in that are current.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you so much for working on this. And actually, I'd like to help a little bit with categorizing. And I have lots and lots and lots of material, really lots of material. Plus, Teresa just sent me a great amount of material that I can share with you from past MLK days.
Oh, great. Yeah, just share that stuff with me. And even if nobody ever gets, even if it's just a place that you can download stuff to use, it should be more useful than us having to swap things around. It's just sort of a central location to go to.
Right. I will tell everybody, I just sent Jessica a bunch of updates for the events planning and contact sheets, who to get in touch with. And that is going to be one of the primary things that probably all of you are going to want to reference, because that's how you get the contact information when you're promoting a particular event, or if you're trying to, like, for instance, I just reserved space at the Galvin. How do you do that? How do you get in touch with WCAT if you want to have something filmed? It has a wealth of information. And I know that I just spent a little time with Jill going through some of this, and she suggested that everybody might want a little quickie 15, 20-minute review of how those documents work and how you promote things and how you market things. And I'd be very happy to do that if there's a demand. So let me know. either individually or as a group, I can do it. I can help walk you through that process because I've been doing it for quite a while, as has Teresa. And so, and since I put that document together, I'm very willing to be the trainer if need be. Thank you, Jess. This is the furthest we've gotten on this in 5 years. I'm excited, or 4 years. Okay, and now Jill, you had very particular experiences when you were planning and coordinating that virtual program with mixed Zooms. Could you please tell people about what happened and best practices moving forward?
Sure. I don't know if I can clarify best practices moving forward. I will say Jess did most of the work in terms of, putting the poster together and advertising, and Sherry, you did some advertising. So I can't say too much about that piece of it, but I did get confused and am still confused because I think I was supposed to, I think I asked Sherry from the town to set up a Zoom link, which I think I was supposed to do, but then we joined efforts with the library. And so the library set up a Zoom link. And I am also confused about the two calendars because I tried to put it on the library calendar and the town calendar, and they are cross-referenced, I think, because somebody reached out and said, wait, why is that here and not there? So I'm still confused about that piece. But we used the library link. That's the one that got advertised, and that's the one that we all signed into. So I don't think it resulted in people who couldn't attend. However, if Sherry had shared that link with anybody from the town, it's possible that they didn't get in because we weren't on that link.
So the lesson learned is if we want to have a registration system and the library is willing to help us, go through the library. If you're not going to have a registration system, but I always recommend we do for these kinds of things, then you can go through the town and use their Zoom,
Okay.
either one.
Okay.
And I know that the other thing, and I talked to the librarians about this, when I went into the library system, it insisted I update my version of Zoom, even though I use Zoom very often, which took almost 15 minutes. I missed part of the program. So I suggested to the library that at any time that they do a Zoom meeting, that they at least post what version of Zoom, so people will have the most current version and won't miss part of a meeting as a result of having to update. I thought I had the most current version. I obviously did not. So that was another thing we just learned. And I did talk to Jackie Powers about that we had a problem.
And
But
so should we have recorded it?
the only way we can record is that, first of all, you must always ask your speakers for permission in advance.
Yeah.
That's bottom line. And then I am not sure if the library has that function. I'm pretty sure they do. I know that when we ask WCAT to record for us, we always ask in advance, and then we can post it. And important informational programs like that, I think should be recorded and should be part of our archive of programs. So how do you all feel about that? Do you think these should be reported and recorded and kept?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people miss programs, and we can do post press and say, we're just so sorry you missed it. Tune in. This is the link. So that means that we can reach a larger audience than we might reach live. I was advised by Barbara at WCAT that she suggested that we do not simulcast to make sure that we keep our live audience. That was in relationship to the International Women's Day, which is usually held at the high school in the auditorium. So if we want a live audience, we can say that it won't be simulcast, but it will be recorded. Then after, we can send out additional press.
Jess, do you have anything that you wanted to add to that?
No, I think that I think that having the registration through the library was nice. If we can have these recorded. Additionally, I think it's a nice educational resource that we can put up somewhere so that we're still even if numbers are a little low for attendees, we still are able to provide this and kind of reach the mission of education. So I think that that's good. It would just have to be making sure that we get the clearance from everybody that we need to get the clearance from, and check with the library that they can do it.
I will tell you that I've not had one speaker in the past say that they did not want to be recorded. So, you know, I hope that that will go forward also. Yes, this is a service to the community that can be ongoing if it's recorded. Speaking of which, the next big thing we do, and it's big, is Martin Luther King, Coretta Scott King Day. As you know, because I've been sending you what I've been doing, because it's only 2 months away, I've started sending out things. But we do need to have a committee meeting, and I did send out a doodle to everyone. And I know some of you said you will be on the committee, but please respond so we can have a committee meeting and go further in our planning. Right now, the thing that I've advertised the most is the call for nominations, because awards are given. Also, Rabbi Hirsch has agreed to do the invocation. So we have that piece. But there's other things. We usually have someone from the political arena speaking, and the committee needs to decide. I've gotten suggestions from several people, and the committee needs to decide. I put together a little flyer, but I'm not going to run it and send it to the town until the committee really gets to look at it. So please look at that, send in the doodle. It's for one night next week. One night next week, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. Please, in 1 hour, actually only 40 minutes, because my Zoom is only, in fact, I need to know now, because otherwise Sherry Dalton cannot schedule it, and it will not be part of the public meetings, the open meeting laws. So I need to know from you guys tomorrow, so I can send it to Sherry, so at least no later than Friday, she can set up a Zoom. But I promise you it will be a short meeting. Half hour, 40 minutes.
Hey, Sherry, when did you send the doodle? Because
Yesterday.
I didn't receive it. I saw
I don't think-
I saw the email that you were going to send it, but I never received the doodle. So
I
can you double
sent a
check?
link.
Hmm?
Okay, I
Can you
sent a
just double
link
check
to
my
everyone.
email?
I can resend the link, not a big deal.
Yeah, I don't think I got that either.
Oh, okay, I'll resend the whole thing, because I sent it to the whole HRC, just in case other people wanted to be part of the committee. Olivia has already said she'd like to work on this committee, and Jeremy said he would like to. And Glavia is going to help us. You know, she's going to be our liaison to the METCO program and help us with that as well. And we just need all the help we can get, because there's a lot of elements to this program. And with the holidays, we have less time than you think getting it off the ground. Through suggestions I've received from different people, and I went back in old minutes and saw this, I actually took the initiative to meet with 2 people from the Wakefield Health and Human Services Department. And one of them, Amy Shear-Velati, who's the Wellness and Prevention Coordinator, is working with a high school program called the Upstanders Program, which is sort of like active bystanders. And I met with her and I told her about the TAB program, the active bystanders, and she's actually going to take it now. She's signed up for the early December one to see if there is some way that they don't duplicate what has already been developed by Quabbin Mediation and how they're developing their Upstanders program. So there's a little progress there. And it's great to have a collaboration with such an active and helpful body of the town. And then I also met with Catherine Zinga, who now I just found out she has taken over a part-time job as the administrator for WAVE, the Wakefield Alliance Against Violence, as well as working with the town in several different capacities. But she is really interested in working with us on International Women's Day. And she will collaborate with us with the theme for International Women's Day. And that comes in March. So we have, I'll talk about it. We can talk about it more the next meeting as we get closer to it, because what we usually have is we usually have a panel, and this year the topic is women in technology, the good, the bad, the different aspects. And I will put together a committee for that as well. And Catherine Zinger will help us put together the program, which is going to be, so we'll have a program in March, which is great. Now, I think that there was some discussion of having yet another Zoom presentation, Jill, coming up in.
I do have one that I can talk about. I wonder, Sherry, I don't mean to overstep, but it's 7:54. Do we want to
Yes.
approve the minutes from previous meetings?
I think we'd better,
And then I can
because we
share.
finally can.
Yeah, and then I can share
Okay.
that last thought.
Okay, what I'm going to ask is, since we've already gone through this, asking people if they had any edits for any of these meetings, I'm going to do sort of a general question here. Does anyone have any comments for any corrections or additions to any of the minutes from June, July, August, September, or October? When you were looking, because I sent them out to you yet again. If there are no additions, corrections, comments, I know that I sent Jessica lots of input over time, so I'm sure she's fixing things up. So I'm going to ask people to vote on the June minutes. Do I have a motion from someone on the floor to accept the minutes of the June 2023 HRC board meeting minutes? Anyone can say, I make a motion.
I make a motion.
Okay, thank you, Olivia. Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, Teresa seconds. Olivia, Jill, Jeremy, Jess, myself, and Teresa all can vote. Olivia, how do you vote?
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes.
I say yes. Teresa?
Yes.
Okay. The minutes are unanimously approved for the June meeting. For the July meeting, Olivia, Jill, Jeremy, Jessica, and myself can vote. Can I have a motion to approve the July minutes?
Motion to approve.
Okay,
Second.
just will you say your name so that Jess can put that in the minutes?
Oh, that was me.
Okay, Jess made a motion to, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
That's
Okay.
okay.
I
Jer-
second. Sherry seconds. Olivia, how do you vote?
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yes.
Jess,
Yes.
and Sherry votes yes. The minutes unanimously are approved. August minutes. A motion to accept the August 2023 minutes of the HRC.
Motion to accept.
Jill, motion, seconded by
Jeremy.
Jeremy, thank you. Olivia, how do you vote?
Yes.
Jess,
Yes.
Teresa,
Yes.
and Sherry votes yes. Okay, you can see that we have been very short members at these meetings in the last few. Okay, now we're moving on to September. Getting close. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the September 2023 meeting minutes of the HRC?
So
Make a
moved by
motion.
Jeremy.
Okay, seconded by?
Me, Teresa.
Okay. Jess, how do you vote?
Yes.
Olivia? Oh, I'm sorry, not Olivia. Jill?
Yes.
Sherry votes yes. Teresa?
Yes.
The minutes of the September 2023 meeting are approved. Okay, October meeting minutes. I make a motion to approve the minutes. Seconded?
I second.
Thank you. Jess, how do you vote?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Teresa?
I wasn't at the meeting.
Oh, you weren't. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay,
It's
I vote
Jeremy.
yes. Okay. Jeremy, were you at the October? Yes,
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yeah.
how do you vote?
Yes.
Sorry about that mistake. The minutes are unanimously approved for the October 2023 meeting minutes. Thank heavens. Jill, thank you for reminding me and pulling us in. We're running out of time. But I wanted to just bring up something that Jess brought up that, and I think we'll table this for the next meeting and give it adequate time, that the HRC, she made a very valid suggestion, needs some sort of policy on when we take a position. And this, right now, there's a lot of controversy over what is going on in the Middle East. And I think we need something to guide us that we all agree upon before we make any kind of position statements about things that are this controversial. So at our next meeting, I'm going to make sure we have plenty of time. That's going to be our primary thing. We're not going to have flag discussions. And we're going to talk about this because I think it's going to be important for us going forward. I agreed with Jess on that. I think all of us will be much more comfortable when issues come up if we have some policy guidance.
Sherry, along those lines, I know we have a blanket letter as well that was drafted by previous HRCs, and I know we're not governed to it, just like the town board can make decisions on changing flag policy and things like that. We can do the same, but it might be helpful if we see a draft of that ahead of time. I know there was one that Benny had used when certain things had come up. So
yeah, I think anything that is, in short, anything that we have that's drafted up as to what we do and when, and I think that we can use some of the things that we've had in the past, or some other responses that other towns may have had. I think it just will guide us to answer these questions. I know we're all busy, we're volunteers, situations are fraught, and I think that this fell on our shoulders as well. I didn't feel like there was town council at the meeting right after a very fraught situation developed in the world, and so it made me feel like having a policy or a place where we can kind of look to and figure out what to do will help us.
Okay. And I recently reconnected with Benny, and I will ask her again because I don't have any idea where that letter or document is. Like Jeremy, I don't know if you have a copy of it that you can find.
Yeah, I can look back because I know we did it around sort of when there was some of the anti-Semitic things going on a couple years ago when I was on the committee, where it wasn't local, but it was close enough to home that we put out a blanket statement. I don't know if you remember that or not, Teresa, but
Yes.
Yeah, I was kind of remembering vaguely because I know something else happened, I think last year. There was I don't know if it was Ukraine or whatever we were dealing with at the time, and I think we made a decision not, like, we kind of had to keep it very local. If not, we were always going to be kind of, so I don't remember all the details of the conversation, but I remember us kind of deciding that we kind of had to narrow it down because if not, it was just going to be too much.
Yeah, and I mean, I looked at what Melrose did, and I think that I feel like if we keep it to something like even just posting resources and things that for mental health, and if you see something like what numbers to call, something like that, I feel like because they put up a bunch of resources for that sort of stuff. If you see something anti-Semitic or Islamophobia, what you can do, who you can call. I think that if we keep it focused on Wakefield and this community and how this community is affected by each thing, I think that would be a good place to start. But it came to mind because I saw some commentary, and I realized we are volunteers that meet once a month too. We don't have a ultra fast reactive ability. We're not always here on the ground ready to go. So I think it will give us continuity, so we're always kind of meeting each thing with a knowledge of where we where our role is. That would help me at least.
I also would refer all of you back to the town's guidebook and also even our guidelines that we are not a political body.
Mhm.
So and not only that, but when we take a position, remember, all of us agree upon it, whether you agree or not with the position, it reflects on all of us as members of the HRC. So we do have to be careful internally as well as externally about what we send out. Because there's the potential for some really ugly stuff, and we've seen this in the past. And we certainly don't want to get in the middle of that. That is not our goal and not our purpose. And I think all of you have enough going on in your lives. You don't have to deal with that as well.
Yeah. The mental load.
Yeah. And I've been finding out more and more about how many different support groups there are in this area. I sent you yet another thing today. I've received so much wonderful information. And I know that there are a lot of people working on issues that we can then advise people to go to if they are having any kind of particular personal challenges with what's going on. So next meeting, we'll spend substantial time on this. I think it's a really important thing that we do.
Sorry,
Yes.
Can I take 30 seconds just to share this third speaker? Because I just want to make sure people are interested before I move forward. So I know it's late. I apologize. I'll be very quick, but I am helping the Dull-Bear PTO put together their Learning About Disabilities and Differences program. And so this year we're having a group called Understanding Our Differences come in. They do curriculum throughout school districts. So Dull-Bear, Greenwood, and Walton are all doing this program this year in the spring. And there's a parent component. So there's the potential for us to partner with the PTOs to host an evening Zoom with that parent component. So, we could just do it all through the PTO, but I thought it could be a good opportunity for us to join with them on that. So I'm wondering if folks are interested in that.
That sounds great, because we can certainly help in terms of promoting it on a broader level. And if they attach our name on it and say with the support of, yes,
I do think people will be interested because they'll be hearing about what their kids are going to be hearing about.
Exactly.
I also, sorry, if I could just mention, I can also talk to the youth council about participating in it too, since we're aligned with the youth and we represent the youth. So I think it'd be really impactful if we're a part of it as well. So I can talk to them about that at our next meeting.
In fact, I learned that recently that there's a new chair of the youth council, Ali.
Yes, Ali, yeah.
Vanessa still wants to be involved.
Yeah,
she couldn't come tonight. She's getting inducted in the National Honor Society tonight. That's why she's not here. So that's wonderful. So I am reaching out to Ali as well. I know you're a member of the council, Michaela. So you'll be our liaison to all the youth, the council as well as just the student body. But we do like to have, and we had lots of help last year from members of the youth council. So boy, we do welcome it. I would say, my personal feeling is I think Jill should go ahead in investigating how we can partner with them and how we can be helpful to them. Other comments?
Can you just say the name of the thing again? Sorry, I'm typing.
Yeah, understanding our differences.
Perfect.
Okay. And does everyone feel like this is something quite consistent with the work we do?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Jill, you have our blessing. Go ahead. Thank you. Okay. It is 8:07. We did have unexpected, public participation. It was very nice though. Thank you, Julie, for coming and joining us. I haven't asked Pete if he had anything to add or Chief Scory, but I want to thank them for being here with us as well. Really appreciate it. And I wish all of you the very best for Thanksgiving, my personal favorite holiday. I think we all have a lot to be thankful for living in this wonderful community. So, good night.
Do we have to do a motion to adjourn?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn. I make a motion to adjourn, seconded by,
Me. I can
okay.
second.
And motion to adjourn at 8:08 p.m. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Jeremy.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.